Okay, welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. My name is, of course, Mangg. Today, we're playing Secret of Evermore, which for some reason, usually I think is the first game I ever did with Hanging with Mangg, but that was actually Diablo 3. Secret of Evermore was like the third game. Um, okay, and for some reason now I've lost video. That's good. And now RetroArch is fucked, and everything is fucked. Wow, that's a good start. What the hell happened? Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. So yeah, Secret Evermore, fantastic game. I'm actually playing with a ROM hack, of course. I love the ROM hacks. This is a pretty minor one in the scope of ROM hacks. All it really does, for the most part, is it puts weapons and spells into categories. And so if you gain experience with any one thing in a category, you gain some XP with everything in the category. So, like, if you gain XP with this spear, all future spears will have some XP added to them, which is pretty sweet. It's really how it should have been in the regular game, because in the regular game, like, I would really, like, never move on from this spear, because I'd get this spear up to, like, level 3, and it's awesome. You throw it really hard, it's great. And then you'd get a new spear, and you couldn't even throw it, and it's like, well, fuck. I think you have to level up the next spear to level 1 just to continue the game, but then it'd be like, yeah, but now, and spells are in their own categories. So if you level up, like, defend, um, down the line, like, speed up also gets XP added to it, because they're both in, like, the buff category or something. I'm not exactly sure. But, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I think there's other few different little changes, but it's not a game that needs extensive ROM hacking. I'm also using a CRT filter, which on my screen looks good. On OBS looks like what the fuck happened. And I can't exactly tell. Okay, on the stream it seems to look fine. So, it's just OBS. The preview window looks weird. So this is episode 302 of Hanging with Mangg. And in September, we'll be coming up on the 6-year anniversary of doing Hanging with Mangg. That's pretty wild. And, you know, I didn't start Hanging with Mangg for years after I first started doing Let's Plays. So I've been in the game for a long time. And I hope to not get out of the game for a long time. Because I enjoy it. Coronavirus running rampant across the United States. We're not looking too great if you actually follow the numbers. Wisconsin's doing fine for now, but That means that everyone in Wisconsin is basically just ignoring it, assuming it's over. 4th of July yesterday. Um, yeah, I mean it's not gonna be pretty. You know, I went on that vacation recently, but that was that was it. You know, that was it for my vacation until quite a while from now. But I got family members, you know, my parents went along with a whole bunch of other family members to a resort this 4th of July weekend. You know, and there were beaches open at the resort, the pools were open. I mean, no one's there, no one's wearing masks there. You're not going to go to a resort and wear masks. Why would you? On a hot 4th of July weekend, are you crazy? You're just living life. So, now, you know, I have to quarantine from my parents for a couple weeks. And then they're going on another fishing trip because, you know, they're old and they loved vacation. So then I'll have to quarantine them from them again for another couple weeks. And they're taking along like my elderly grandmother, who's been in the hospital like twice in the last couple months, because they think that it might be her last vacation. And it's like, well, yeah, I think there's a good chance it could be her last vacation. But I guess, I mean, that's if you're gonna go, you're gonna go. Um. So yeah, I mean, it's the U.S. is not looking too great. Texas and Arizona, Florida, ICU beds are filling up quick. And most of you know, it's a big deal, and you know, I've been following this for months now. Remember back in February, I was talking about this. My dad still says it's still, you know, no worse than the flu. He thinks that all the hospitals across the entire world are lying about coronavirus deaths and stuff because they get paid to lie. Across the entire world, who is paying? I mean, who who is paying hospitals in Brazil to lie? I mean, I just don't. You know, it's getting hard to talk to them. My dad is just this super diehard Republican now. Never once growing up did I really ever hear him talk about politics or anything like that. And now it's just like he's lost all sensibility. Uh, he believes pretty much everything he reads, but, you know, he only reads very specific, um, biased articles. Trump is literally the savior of America, even though back during the 2016 election, he didn't give two shits about Trump and thought he was a joke, but here we are. I mean, I don't want to get political, but it's just like, and I know plenty of other people in this country. You know, on Reddit, they say the exact same thing. Like, they really like lost their parents to this nightmare of just anti-science and anti-logic. And it's hard to chat with them about anything. My dad used to be just a really smart guy. I mean, he was an engineer for Harley Davidson. You know, he taught me a lot about computers. When I was a kid, he sort of got, you know, he got me into computers. I wouldn't really be doing what I do, not for him. So it's just like such a drastic change. But anyways, let's talk about better stuff. This week on this channel, we had The Last of Us Part 2. We had Dragon Quest 3. We had a little bit of Two Brothers Play Code Vein, and of course, Roll Manging. Next week is going to look a little different. There isn't going to be Roll Manging. And the final video of Dragon Quest 3 will go up, I believe, tonight. And what I have decided is that in 12 days, I think, 12 days, Ghosts of Tsushima comes out on the PS4. And I didn't even know this was coming out. I mean, I know, you know, I don't follow much. I don't follow much of that. So I knew that it was being developed. I knew that it was coming out this year. I just had no idea of the exact release date until this week. And I looked up some relatively recent gameplay footage. It looks hot. I'm very hyped about it. You know, Sucker Punch, they've put out some good stuff in the past. So I will be doing a Let's Play of Ghosts of Tsushima. I don't know if it's Ghosts or Ghost, but either way. And since that comes out relatively soon, if I start uploading Dragon Quest 4 this week, it won't be done by the time that comes out. So what I've decided is I'm just going to keep uploading Last of Us 2 every day until Ghost of Tsushima. Then those will alternate as normal until Last of Us is done, and then I'll start Dragon Quest 4. Last of Us 2 I have finished. It's, I believe, 28 parts, which is pretty lengthy. It's not a short little game. So otherwise, if I didn't do it that way, if I just went into Dragon Quest 4, I'd have to pause that when Ghosts of Tsushima came out. And then I would resume once Last of Us came out, and it would just be kind of a mess. And this way, I think people are probably more interested in Last of Us anyways, so we'll just do it that way. So for a brief time, we'll have two big PS4 exclusives going on simultaneously. Get out of my way. God damn it. God damn it. Fuck. So that's that. There's no roll manging. Because Realm is going to be absent for a couple weeks, and Ziggy decided that he'd rather just keep everybody together for this campaign. It's his choice. He's the DM, so that's what we're doing. So I think we're just doing some tabletop stuff. I could stream that if people are interested. I don't know how entertaining it is to watch people play on Tabletop Simulator. I guess probably just as entertaining, if not more so than roll manging, but I don't know. And we had Two Brothers Play Code Vein yesterday. That should have been a longer video. I didn't have a timer. I wasn't keeping track of when we started, so I thought the video was longer than it actually was. Which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. If I had known, I would have kept going, but It was a pretty solid video of just progress, no real hiccups. And things, you know, there are going to be hiccups. I imagine the game's going to get just sort of tough, but it's easier co-op. So far so good. We'll continue that next week. Yeah, so that's that. Over on the Exploring series, I uploaded a video. Give me a second. Give me a second. It wasn't like a big topic, was it? What the fuck was it? Ugh. I'm gonna have to Google it. I'm gonna have to look it up on my phone. I don't know what the fuck I worked on. It all blends together. Hold on. It was, oh, the stars do not wait. That's why I don't remember, because I worked on that weeks ago. Yeah, the stars do not wait for you. It was just a reading video. That's why it wasn't that substantial. People seem to like it, though. I mean, it's not a universally loved tale. It is well rated, but it has a specific audience, I guess. And I released a video on mimics and D&D. Not that big of a deal. But for this week, I worked on a little bit of a bigger project. And that was Apotheosis Part 1. Nice. Part 1 of the Apotheosis canon. Truth be told, Apotheosis could have all been condensed into a single video. I think it would probably be about maybe an hour and 15 minutes long, hour and 20 minutes long. But I didn't go that route for two reasons. One is because I don't want to overwork myself that much in 1 week. I know, I'm selfish. Selfish and lazy. And two, it's more lucrative to have 3 videos than 1. That being said, it's even more lucrative to make 3 videos and then combine them into 1 video. As evidenced by my Ouroboros cycle, which is creeping up to be my most popular video. It is currently my 3rd most popular, with over 2 million views. SCP-093 is at the top. Cthulhu's right behind it, but Ouroboros cycle gains a lot of views every single month. Every single day. Like, consistently. Consistently every month, it's like my most viewed video. So that's all well and good. I don't know if I'll end up combining the 3 Apotheosis into 1 video. It's just, I don't think it's really long enough to warrant it. And I know some people, when they see part 1 of Apotheosis, they're going to expect something on the same scale as Ouroboros. It isn't. It really isn't. I would say it's like a third. And so I debated between making it 2 parts or 3 parts. The third part would be a decent length. It's really the second part that's just going to be kind of shorter. In the end, money and my laziness won out, so I think I'm going to go with 3 parts. Which is how, if you go to the Apotheosis Hub, the articles are broken up into 3 chapters. So I can just use that as my excuse. Yeah, so that's that. First part of the Apotheosis is about 30 minutes. It's very comic booky. It's basically like X-Men or the Reckoners or Darker Than Black. You know, it's normal humans that all suddenly just get superpowers, and they do different things with those superpowers. And the SCP Foundation wants to put a stop to them. So I end up using just comic book-esque art. I didn't want to use anything of like just Superman or anything like that. So it's all just sort of generic super characters or individuals doing sort of super powered things. I had a specific aesthetic in mind with the imagery, which is usually what I have. So a lot of the images are sort of similar, but overall I was pleased with it. I think it's a fine video. And Apotheosis Part 2 will be next week, and I assume Apotheosis Part 3 will be the following week. I am leaving it up to the polls, so it is possible something else could have won, but we're definitely rolling into Part 2 next week. So that's that. We did have Roll Mangg in this week. We did have a session, so let's chat about that. We had started out back in the village of Haven. They had just sort of scared off all the goblins. And the full platoon of guards were on their way to help solve this goblin problem, as there were too many of the goblins for just us to handle, especially since John Smith is a pacifist and useless in a fight. So the rest went back to town. I waited for the guards to show up so I could point them in the right direction. They did show up. I pointed them in the right direction, so on and so forth. And then we went back to my house and we sort of reconvened and we discussed what we're doing. We decided that none of us were really super attached to the village. None of the others were from here. It was really only me, so only John Smith, and he had his heart set on seeing the world. You know, he wanted to get out of the village from the very start. So he felt bad about just abandoning all these people that he knew to their problems. But John Smith is fairly convinced that the world is going to end soon, like most people are. So, I mean, these problems are pretty temporary considering the world's going to end. So he'd like to just see the world before it ends. Pretty simple. So we all discussed and we were all pretty agreed upon to just leave the village and head out into the world. Ziggy was prepared for this. And he had a whole slew of rumors available to us that each of us had heard. Basically, we had heard rumors in every cardinal direction. Rumors about treasure, and rumors about ancient ruins, and rumors about monsters, all sorts of stuff. So he laid out this whole list of rumors for us. And Thomas was drawn to this rumor of a wizard that was paying people to experiment on them. John Smith liked the sound of this. He had never met a wizard. That was on sort of his bucket list, was to meet a wizard. And he didn't mind being experimented on. He lived a pretty simple life. It was time to be a bit more adventurous. The world's gonna end anyways. Why not? So and near there was a rumored tower with a magical sword located at the top of it. So we figured we'd go to this wizard, get some experiments, get paid. There was talk of maybe the experiments will let us all fly, and then we can just fly up to the tower. Great. So we set off. We bought some supplies. I think we bought like a cart. We didn't buy a horse because Thomas is a druid. He can just turn into a horse and pull our cart. And we set off. Later that day, we come to a tollway, a bandit tollway, or a group of bandits set up in this little guarded community on the road, and they charged people a toll to pass through. And this is, sort of where I get into character. There's, depending on the character that I'm playing, there's a lot of different responses I could have to this situation. Ovum, of course, would just charge in with his sword and just butcher all of them for daring to unjustly prey upon the innocent. Frederick Zoller would just waltz in and attempt to basically take over the camp, or perhaps impersonate the leader of the camp, who knows what. Artemis would come up with some very clever way to completely destroy the entire group, or bypass the situation entirely. What about John Smith, though? What is John Smith? John Smith's thought was, well, why don't we just pay the toll? That's the John Smith way. Pacifism, baby. He doesn't want any confrontation. Surprisingly, the others were somewhat in agreement with this. Again, I think the others just sort of go with the flow of what I say. That's why I try not to say that much. I try to encourage them to be a bit more vocal in their dealings, and determining what we should all do. But they were pretty much fine with, I mean, there was talk of like fording the river. That was the problem. There was a river, and they basically controlled the bridge. And we could have crossed over the river, but we had this cart, and it would have been really difficult to cross the river with the cart unless we went like a big ways around. But there were also apparently alligators in the river, and it's just like, oh boy. So John Smith hears all this, and he doesn't hear like, oh, how do I solve this? Well, you know, he just hears, this sounds like shit, let's pay the toll. Because he's an average villager. That's what they want. They want people to just pay the toll. So yeah, we decided let's just go in and pay the toll, but let's have Mert, since he's such a diplomat, he's got a way with words. We're gonna have him go in and sort of sweet talk him, maybe get, give us a discount on paying this toll. And sure enough, that's basically what happens. He offers up this fine bottle of wine that he had bought in the village, and he basically ends up paying half of what they normally charge. But in exchange, he offers to play them some music while they drink their wine. While he's playing, he sings some songs about the legend of John Smith. His goal is to basically to have John Smith be the topic of his magnum opus, you know, this great legendary ballad about the legendary John Smith. The only problem is John Smith is a very humble guy. He's not interested in having things made up about him. So they, you know, when he hears these songs being sung about him and things being made up that he never did, he of course corrects them. And so John Smith ends up convincing the bandits that these songs were all fabricated. He has not done these things. So the legend of John Smith didn't exactly grow. But that's okay. And we went on a little ways. We camped out for the night. And the next day, we come across this tent in like a clearing. Oh, I think we came across like a merchant of some kind, or no, maybe we didn't. Maybe I'm making shit up. This was a long time ago. This was Monday. We do eventually come to this tent in a clearing. I think it's like Arcano the Magnificent, or something like that. So this is the wizard doing experiments and offering pay. Comes out to greet us. He's glad to see, you know, willful participants. And anyone that's interested can step inside. So John Smith, of course, that's what he's there for, so he steps in. And basically, I had been looking at the Clock Mage playbook, the Clock Mage class. There's really a whole bunch of homebrew classes for Dungeon World that you can choose from. Not all of them are perfectly balanced, or, you know, as any homebrew is, but there's a lot of cool stuff. Last time I played Dungeon World, I played as a Star Mage. So I don't know if I guess I haven't really ever played as a normal Dungeon World class. Because now I'm playing a villager. I guess villagers, it's in the default Unlimited Dungeons book, so it's sort of legit. But I was sort of interested in the Clock Mage. It's basically a time wizard. He has the ability to jump forward a little bit or rewind a little bit. He can time stop. He can do some cool stuff. And I thought, okay, it would be kind of cool to have John Smith be a clock mage. Because one of the things is, like, he never grows older. He never really, like, changes. He can't ever have a permanent injury. He never needs to eat, never needs to drink, never needs to sleep. He's just eternal. And it's like, it's kind of funny to just have John Smith be this eternal pacifist villager with some superpowers. And I was like, okay, you know, I could be a clock mage. I don't know when I'll change. You know, I don't know when I'll upgrade from being a villager. It's sort of weird to just suddenly spontaneously be, oh, okay, I'm a clock mage now. I suddenly have superpowers. So I wasn't sure when I was going to change, but this really presented an excellent opportunity. You know, I was not the one that suggested going to this wizard doing experiments. It was Thomas. I was just like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. Because I figured, oh, that could be a way to do it. And as we settled on that, we were on our way. I messaged Ziggy, and I'm like, that would be a good way for someone to transition into a clock mage. And he's like, yeah, I agree. So I step into the wizard tent, and the experiment that he has me do involves this, like, broken hourglass artifact with, like, sand swirling around and stuff. And all he wants me to do is, like, grab it and put it upright or something like that. That, you know, it's a very easy thing to do, but not all of his experiments have gone well. So John Smith goes over, picks it up, puts it over, and his body undergoes a lot of changes. Time, like, stops and fast forwards all at once. It's crazy, blah, blah, blah. And in the end, I basically repaired the hourglass, and I transitioned into a clock mage. It all just seemed to fit, I guess. So, I think that's fine. Yeah, I could have spent the whole campaign as a villager, but I don't think the others would have really loved it, since a pacifist that can't do almost anything, since I tend to be, like, the leader of the party and dictate what our plans will be, you know, it's a challenge, but I don't know if it's super fun to the others. So a clock mage will be a bit more overpowered. I'm sure I'll break the game and everyone will regret it and blah, blah, blah. Then I think Thomas went in and he, like, he did, I don't remember, he drank a potion or something like that. He had to do a roll, and he had a good chance of dying from this dice roll. But fortunately he did not die. He just gained, like, some extra health. And I don't even remember what happened to Mert. I don't even remember what happened to Mert. It must not have been too significant, I guess. And Realm decided not to do the experiment at all. Oh, I also got paid a healing potion. I don't know what the others got paid. I think I was just reading over all my clock mage stuff again during all this, so I wasn't really paying attention. Whoops. And yeah, that was pretty much the session, to be honest. We didn't really accomplish a whole lot. We asked the wizard if he's heard of a tower with a magical sword, and he had, so he pointed us in the right direction. And that's where we ended. I had tested out my powers by like slapping Mert and then rewinding time, so I didn't slap him. So I could potentially slap him for all eternity if I so chose. I can like basically teleport. I can't actually teleport because I can skip forward time for myself. So I can move somewhere instantaneously, but I can't like traverse gaps that I normally couldn't. But it has its uses. And eventually I'll be able to stop time and do cool shit like that. So John Smith, you know, he's never had anything like this before, any sort of magical abilities. This is a whole new world. Doesn't even sell ingredients. What the fuck? So yeah, I'm very interested in where this campaign goes, and if we get, I mean, are we gonna save the world? It seems so far-fetched. We don't even know what's happening. But maybe we'll learn more. Maybe we'll get involved. Pretty excited. Pretty excited with where it's happening. With what's happening. The Clock Mage. It's not as challenging as playing a villager, of course not, but it's certainly more interesting. So we'll pick that up in a few weeks, I guess. Unfortunately. Yeah. I suppose that's about it. Not a whole lot else to say. So, check out the Apotheosis Part 1 over on the Exploring series. Especially if you like sci-fi or comic book stuff. It's pretty cool. There's some pretty cool stuff in there. And I make sure to warn people before the video gets going that this is not dark SCP horror. We got the last of Dragon Quest 3 tonight. More Last of Us Part 2 this entire week. One video a day. So you'll get plenty of apocalyptic action horror. Hopefully another episode of Two Brothers Play Code Vein. And that'll be that. Cool stuff. My name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. See you fine folks next week.